Hey, Toy fans, D21 Beast Rob here, back with a special event, I guess you could call it. I've got Greg with me. Say hey, Greg.
Hey there.
And I've got Jeff.
Hi.
Hey, so we've got the old Project Geek Week crew. For those of you who've been around for a while, you might remember that show. And we thought we'd go ahead and watch Iron Fist together and then do some quick episode recaps, just share our thoughts and predictions and whatnot as we move through the series. So we're starting with the first episode of Iron Fist. And I guess before we talk about the episode, I just wanted to quickly highlight where each of us first kind of came into knowledge of the character. So, Jeff, what would you say your first exposure to Iron Fist was?
Mine was kind of a mix. So I remember just seeing the character in my comic store and picking up a trade because I thought he looks cool. Around that same time, I was also playing Disney Infinity, so I know I had the figure. I'm not really sure which came first, but they were both right around the same time.
Cool. So what do you know about the comic? Like, were you reading like the David Aja run, or do you know that even?
I've got the trade here somewhere. I don't remember the name of it, but it was basically just. I mean, it was only. I think it was probably 2015-ish, somewhere around there. Kind of an origin story type deal.
Sure. And Greg, what is, to the best of your memory, what's your introduction to the character?
I honestly couldn't tell you what the first introduction to him was. I mean, I've known you for so long. We've known Marvel since we were kids. I mean, it's tough to say. I've not really known not knowing Iron Fist, I would say.
Sure. Cool. Well, if I had to think my best of my memory, I'm sure I've seen the character multiple times before this point, but I probably first really knew who he was when I bought the old Toy Biz Marvel Legends figure that actually came with an Iron Fist comic. And yeah, that was basically my introduction. And then I got to know a lot more about him as he became a member of the New Avengers during Brian Michael Bendis' run. And that's probably where I learned most about his backstory and his friendship with Luke Cage and all that sort of good stuff. So yeah, a pretty interesting character. I've personally been looking forward to the show. I'll be honest, I haven't been looking as forward to it as I have some other Marvel Netflix series. I don't know why. I just couldn't get myself excited for it. But we'll go ahead and talk about our initial impressions of the episode and then some things we noticed. I got to say, based on the media circus around this episode, I had very low expectations. And I think, Greg, you kind of suggested that too before we started recording.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if we're going to talk about this, the one thing we have to talk about is the fact that the media is just piling on to this show. And I would say, at least from my perspective, that ended up being a good thing, because watching this first episode, like you were saying, I went in with basically the lowest possible expectations and wasn't disappointed. Like it was definitely slow. I mean, and I do feel like we kind of relived that it can't possibly be Danny moment a few times, but I don't know, just I expected it to be worse than I came away from it thinking about it, you know?
Yeah, I would agree. And Jeff, you have similar thoughts, or were you feeling a little different?
Similar. So I'm in a bit different boat. This and Daredevil were like the two IPs that I most wanted to see, and after seeing how amazing Daredevil was, I love both seasons of it. I was really hyped for this, so I got really nervous when I started seeing those initial reviews.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, I enjoyed it. I think slow is the word I would use for this first episode. Like I know there's a little world building they have to do, but I do feel like
there was a lot.
I feel like we kind of relived the same scene 4 or 5 times where they could have spent more time doing a little more world building instead of just keep revisiting the same, like, kind of beating dead horse. But it wasn't to the point where I couldn't enjoy the episode, but yeah.
Well, I got to say, and conversely, I almost feel like they were constantly info dumping with different names, different locations, and there was even, a very obvious moment of exposition. I forgot to write down what it was. But anyway, it was when Danny was meeting with the girl that seems to be kind of not sure about him. So, but a couple of notes, I guess, during the episode. You guys can let me know what you noticed. The intro, we kind of talked about that again before we were recording. Very interesting intro and very familiar to any fans of Street Fighter. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah, definitely.
It's like Iron Fist is focus attacking his whole way through the intro
that's
of
right.
the show. I do like the look of it better than probably what they did for Luke Cage. Daredevil's still pretty cool looking. I was just so on Jessica Jones. The music, though, hasn't stuck out with me yet. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, as far like I thought Daredevil had a really nice artistic intro. I would say the music sticks out to me more in Jessica Jones than either Daredevil or this show. And honestly, I don't even really remember the Luke Cage intro.
Okay. So it was, if I remember, it was some sort of like jazz hip hop kind of mixed sounding.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think it was a very Daredevil-esque feel as far as the intro to me, with, like you said, with some Street Fighter mixed in. I think this and Daredevil, I don't know how to describe it. I think have the least amount of, I don't want to call it fan service, but it doesn't feel like they're trying too hard to like to set up a specific feel. They just kind of, or organically let it grow. That was one of my complaints with Luke Cage and I mean, I think it's part of the genre that Luke Cage was trying to be. It really feels like they're trying to beat it into you, like, hey, this is the type of show we are. And I didn't, with Daredevil and with this, I didn't get that feel.
Yeah, it's definitely more abstract.
Yeah. So don't hate it. It's interesting. Maybe it'll grow on me.
Yeah.
So a couple of other notes. Iron Fist, he had a click wheel iPod, which I definitely think they picked to kind of show that he'd been gone for a while. You guys picked up on that too, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And of course, the music, "So Fresh and So Clean" by Outkast, song playing on his iPod.
Yeah.
So nice callback to that at the end of the episode as well. We talk about his powers. It looked like he used his powers a couple of times. Now, he had an interesting effect for when his chi is active. It's almost like he, I don't know, turns into screen static or something. Is that how you guys would describe that?
Yeah, and I don't think he's gone full on chi mode yet, but yeah, he's definitely. It almost gave me kind of a Hulk vibe. It was definitely when he was getting angry, like almost he was trying to hold it in. So I don't know if later, we're just going to see it, explode out of him and miraculously he's Iron Fist, not just Danny Rand, but they were definitely hinting at it.
So I feel like he used some of his powers too when he was approaching that dog as he entered his old house. So maybe that was not that, but it just seemed like he was kind of meditating before he actually approached the dog. So maybe that was a more subtle use. Another note I noticed was I don't think the actor has learned Mandarin yet. It looked like his lines were very clearly dubbed over when he was speaking to Colleen Wing for the first time.
Yeah, and I don't know how much more of that we'll see, especially with Colleen saying, "Hey, just English." Like that may have been kind of a point of them saying, "Hey, we're not going to keep doing this." I could be wrong, but
no, I work well with Fisk.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So, and on the Colleen Wing tip, nice callback to Luke Cage. If you guys remember from the very end of Luke Cage, one of the last episodes, if not the last episode, and probably the last shot almost, we see a telephone pole that's got a banner for hire Colleen Wing for martial arts training. So I thought that was cool to see that in Luke Cage. Didn't realize they were building towards Iron Fist, but it makes sense in retrospect. So it was cool to see that she was actually hanging those flyers in this show. So the Italian deli that was on Bleecker Street, a nice reference to Doctor Strange being his Sanctum Sanctorum being on Bleecker Street.
So I had a couple notes. One, do you guys think the hobo was murdered?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it seemed pretty obvious that the whole set it up as if it were an overdose, but I mean, then he sees the bird tattoo, and you're like, what does that mean? Clearly, the hobo is more significant than just some random guy.
Yeah, and I picked up on the tattoo. The murder thing didn't pop into my head, but now that you mentioned it kind of makes sense. What was completely offhand, maybe unrelated? Does Stick have some kind of tattoo? Could that have been a Daredevil tie-in? I don't remember.
I think peripherally it's some sort of, whether it's the Hand or Madame Gao's organization, something. My comics knowledge failed me on that one, so I don't know how to read that either.
I don't think it was the Hand, because the Hand I think was just an actual like fingerprinted hand, if I remember right. But I couldn't remember. For some reason, I wanted to say, it just popped in my head that there was something with Stick, but it may have just been just the look of the guy.
I don't see anything like that. On a Google image search, Stick tattoo Daredevil, I don't see anything like that. I would expect it would be like one of the top results.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, it may have just been, crusty old guy. I immediately think of Stick, but...
the other thing... Sorry, go ahead. I was going to say another MCU reference. Colleen talked about how she has AA meetings every Tuesday in her dojo. Thursday, yeah, excuse me, Thursday. So I don't remember them specifically meeting in a dojo on Jessica Jones, but maybe that's something they're building toward for Defenders.
Yeah, they pay more.
So, what were you going to say, Greg?
The other note I had was just that the episode is titled Snow Gives Way, and I was trying to think, what does that mean?
Interesting. Yeah, I forgot to look up the episode title. Certainly, maybe Snow Gives Way in the sense that that's where his new life seems to have started. It looks like the plane he was on crash landed in the snow. Yeah,
because at that shot at the end with the iPod in the snow, yeah.
It could have been. I mean, they could have become more literal too with the whenever he's they're hinting at his chi powers. It always almost like TV snow, like static.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Good call.
That may be a little too on the nose, but.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I'm looking at some of the other episode titles, and some of them are a little more like straightforward. So I was just thinking, Snow Gives Way is open to that interpretation. I don't think it necessarily doesn't jump out at me as like on the nose.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, Greg. Make a note of that episode title. Don't tell us what it is. We are going to go watch the second episode now of Iron Fist. We'll come back with our thoughts on it. And one of the things we can touch on is how the title potentially gives away or explains more about the episode that we were going to watch. But guys, I hope you enjoy our episode recaps. We're going to try to do one for every episode if we can. It may take us a week to get them all out. We'll see. But if you guys want to keep up with us outside of these episode recaps, you can find me at D21Beast on Twitter. Greg, where can they find you?
Yoshimitsu47.
And Jeff, where can they find you?
Forgotten Next Jedi.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you soon.
See ya.